Okay, so we're going to draw a cartoon or animated human figure. Start with a circle for the head. In real life, we have more of an oval shaped head, but in animation, they tend to animate the size and shape of the head. Then I draw in a center line to make sure that everything is evenly spaced out on the face. I'm going to start to block in the jawline here. So just add a quick chin and cheekbones. Now we're going to do the center line for the body and draw in a quick shape for the torso. So the torso is kind of like a trapezoid, just like curved at the top. There's a hip joint. Now we're going to throw in basically the limbs. Oh, you know what? I'm going to start with the center line for the head or the face. This is actually going to be the eye line going across this way. All right, so from the eye line to the hips is basically the length of the legs. So I'm going to go ahead in and start blocking in the legs. They start out like a stick figure, just long and skinny, like as if you were drawing a stick figure person. Obviously, the bent leg is going to look a little bit shorter. From here, I'm going to show you how to draw. Oh, and for the arms, I'm going to do the same thing, stick arms. And then we'll go back in later and we'll add ovals for muscles and circles for the joints. There's different kinds of feet you can draw. You can have a foot that's going out to the side, like I'm sketching in here. So when it goes out to the side, you see the full length of the foot. Another type of foot is a foot that's facing you or foreshortened. So when the toe is facing out towards you, you don't really see the full length of the foot. It looks a little bit shorter. So I start with the toe and kind of connect it back up to the ankle bone. I'm outlining the big toe right now. All right, the other kind of foot, I'm going to put on the leg that's bent, and you're seeing like the top part of the foot and the bottom part of the foot going sort of different directions, connected to the ankle bone and the leg, and there you have it. So on this side, I'm doing a toe that's facing you because you often see that in just, different ways people are standing. And people kind of struggle with this way. So start with the toe, connect it back to the ankle. I'm adding some knee joints. On the leg that's bent, it should be more of like a circle. Adding in the bent foot on the bent leg, as if the foot was like propped up on something. All right, now we're going to draw in muscles. That's the thigh muscle. Notice how it lines up with the outside edge of the hip. Through in a calf muscle, thigh muscle, calf. The bent leg will straighten out on the front a little bit. You'll see the side of the shin. Okay, now it's time to go in and start adding shoulder joints. And here I'm adding in a bicep, elbow joint, wrist joint, a fist that's planted on that hip, and then a forearm. Here we have another elbow joint, wrist. I'm going to add in the bicep muscle. And the forearm, notice it comes from the back of the elbow joint. Otherwise, you'll end up with an extra bump in the arm. Okay, I'm going to shrink this down so I can add on the hand. This hand, I'm going to go into a little bit greater detail. I'm still going to start with a trapezoid shape for the palm. Add in a thumb joint and a thumb. For the fingers, I'm going to start with straight lines. I'm going to have one outstretched and three bent. Then I block in the edge of the finger. They're all kind of squared at the top and bottom. It just prevents the fingers from looking too skinny or pointy at the top or the bottom. All right, next step, we're going to actually make this look like a person, or a human face, I should say. So when starting with the face, you have to make sure that the eyes don't end up too close together or too far apart, kind of centered on that space between center line and the edge of the head. Then a nose line and a mouth line. This is the eyebrow line going in. It'll really easily shape the shape of the eyebrows later. The hairline should be up towards the top of the head and drop down to meet the ears. The ears are actually lined up perfectly with the eye line. So I'll throw in a quick ear on each side. Ears can be smaller in animation because they're not really an important feature. Unless, you want the ears to be exaggerated. Okay, so when drawing the human eye, I generally break it down into a lot of different lines for the eyelid and the tear duct and all that. You would then want to overlap your iris or the colored part of your eye. In animation, you could make this much taller. You could really exaggerate the eyes, which they often do. And I'm just going to go in and I'm going to simplify the eyelid around. I'm just going to do 3 lines on the top and then one swooping line on the bottom. Then we're going to go ahead and add the pupil, which is the black dot in the middle of your eye. After we add the pupil, you could add glares on the outside edge of the eye. And I'm going to go ahead and give this eye some tone. so I can show you guys how eyes should be colored. And you could do this with any color, blue, green, brown, gray, hazel. Eyes are generally darker at the top of the eye because the top eyelid will give them a little bit of shadow. I'm going to darken in that pupil. Okay, and then for highlights, what you'll do is you'll just go in and erase the white mark where you want it to be a highlight. Generally, light sources come from above, like lights in the ceiling or from the sky. Oh yeah, I'm going to erase the pupil where it sticks out, or the iris on the top and the bottom. There I'm erasing in a little glare. So that's basically it for the eye. We can go in now and start adding some detailed facial features over our guidelines. Oh, you know what? I think I'm going to talk about eyelashes. Keep eyelashes kind of simple and heavier towards the outside corner. Make sure they have a little bit of curve so that they don't look like a bug leg. Yeah, nice and pointy on the edge, a little bit of curve. Okay, so I'm just gonna lighten up this layer and go in and start adding some facial features. Generally, I start with the eyes just because they're a pretty important part. Remember, you can make these pretty tall. If you're right-handed, do the left side or the weak side first. If you're left-handed, do the opposite. If you draw your weak side first, it becomes easier to duplicate what you've drawn. So I'm just blocking in, just like I did on the side, the shape of the iris, now the shape of the eyelid going around. And you can go in and trim off the top and the bottom a little bit. And then give the eye some tone. I'm obviously just working in kind of like a blue-gray so you guys can see the tone, but feel free to go in and, you know, later on do colors in these eyes, whatever color you want, whatever skin color you want. Let's see. I think I'm going to erase in like a little bit of light at the bottom of the eye and a glare. All right, next thing I'm going to do is trim up the iris sticking out of the top and the bottom. Okay. Next thing we're going to do, guys, is we're going to add the nose. Eyebrows. Eyebrows and nose are really simple in animation. It's like they're hardly there, just a tiny little line. The mouth can become more complicated if you guys want to add more detail to it. So yeah, just the little side nose or like the shadow underneath the nose. That's pretty much all you should draw in. So yeah, keep noses simple. They're like barely there. And then for the mouth, you're going to basically start with a low flat letter M. This M is where the top lip and the bottom lip meet. It's basically a shadow between the lips. It should not look like a regular M where it's like real tall mountain peaks kind of. It should look like an M that's been squished or stepped on. So don't do the tall M, do the low flat M. Add a dip for the top lip, dip for the bottom lip. Do a diagonal line on the corners of the mouth. And if you want to make it smiling, you could tilt the corners up just a little bit, like I did on that top version of the mouth. So on the face I drew here, I had it just kind of smirking on the one side. The other side's kind of normal, so you could see both sides. Adding a dip for the top lip, dip for the bottom lip. By the way, if you have larger lips, you could make the lips much bigger here if you wanted to kind of make it look more like you. I'm just going to go ahead and darken up the lines for the face and the ears so you guys can see what's going on. And we are going to talk about hair. There are a lot of different kinds of hair you could do, and there's a lot of mistakes that people make when drawing hair. People try to draw every individual hair, so they end up with an overwhelming amount of lines on the head. Or they have the hair just going out to the side, like you see there. And we don't have hair just on the side of our heads. We have hair behind our heads, too. And that hair should be evident even from the front. So don't be drawing in every individual piece of hair, whether it's straight or curly. We are going to draw the outside edges of the hair, as if you're outlining the hair, okay? So start with your head. And I'm going to do boy hair and girl hair here. There's straight and curly that I'm going to do as well. So obviously we need to start with the hairline so we know where the hair needs to overlap the head. The neck is really important and the shoulders on girl hair because I'm going to show you how to stop the hair. This one has hair blowing out to the side and going behind her shoulder, as you can see there. So I just drew the outline of the hair. She could maybe have a lock of hair coming over the shoulder. You would then obviously want to erase the shoulder there so it looks like that piece of hair is overlapping the shoulder. The hair behind her neck would just appear shadowed. Here I'm drawing in another lock of hair. And again, inside this lock of hair, you can erase the lines inside of it. And then it looks like it's overlapping. So whenever you want to draw the locks of hair that come forward, they're usually lighter. and also they'll overlap. Now, curly hair, you're going to do wavy or really wavy lines depending on the curl. It could be like a loose beach wave or like a really tight spiral curl. She's got some hair coming over the shoulder. So again, we're going to go in and erase where that overlaps. And if you want short hair, just have it end, higher up than the shoulders. And if you want longer hair, have it drop down. It doesn't always need to come in front of the shoulder. It could go behind the shoulder. And I'll show you how to do that when I'm drawing on my actual figure here too. All right, boy hair is a little bit simpler. So straight hair, you're going to use mostly straight lines. If it drops below the hairline, you're going to want to erase. If it goes above the scalp, you're going to erase that too, just as I did here. For curly hair, you're going to do wavy lines. Or this is really curly hair, so I did really tight wavy lines. Some hair looks even curly on the hairline like I did in this one. Okay, so then on this figure, I'm going to go ahead and add, again, half boy, half girl kind of hair. Okay, so I have hair that drops below the hairline, so then you would erase the hairline. You wouldn't see that original hairline. I'll erase all the lines in that lock of hair. Hair pretty much always goes above the head, unless you're like bald, like shaved bald head. Okay, so I'm doing some hair coming out from behind the arm. Remember, I'm just drawing the outside edges of the hair or the outside edges of an individual lock of hair, but I'm not going in and drawing in each individual hair. This guy's going to have more of a sculpted hairline. And if you wanted to draw a part in the hair, you could just do like a V on the top of the head and have the hair go two separate directions. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about adding clothing. Clothing is maybe harder than you guys might think. So wherever the clothing ends, it needs to end with a curve. I'm just going to clean up some of these outlines too as I go along. So this girl's wearing a glove, so you're seeing a curve where that glove ends. And then I'm going to go in and sort of, block out the shapes around here. And you guys will do the same. You'll kind of clean up your outlines and edges and then erase all those guidelines on the inside. I know you're probably thinking it's a waste of time to draw the lines on the inside, but it's not. It really helps you get a proportional figure. So please do it. I draw figures all the time and every time. Here's the end of her pants leg. Notice how I did a curve there. I'm going to block in a real quick gym shoe. You guys can look up images if you want for accessories or clothing so you can see an example of exactly what you want to do. Drawn in the sole of her little gym shoe, a couple of quick laces. That's one nice thing about animation and cartoon is you can really simplify some things. Shoelaces would normally be pretty difficult to draw. Soften up curves, going from oval to oval or circle to circle. If you're doing a belt line or the end of a shirt, it should be curving. I'm going to draw on a real quick belt there. Now I'm going to do some more loose fitting clothing. On the right side, the female side, I did some tight fitting clothing. Here I'm giving this guy a hoodie. So you're seeing the hood kind of crinkled up on his shoulder. There's like a tassel where you tie it up. There's a big hoodie pocket I'm sketching in. The side of the hoodie should fit kind of loose. So I did a wave outside of the body so it looked like the clothing was a little bit looser. I'm going to trace, here's an example of a t-shirt. So you see that the t-shirt is a little bit wider than the arm. So I did kind of an ellipse or an oval going around the arm. And again, just cleaning up my outlines and edges. Now for loose fitting pants, you'll want to do some more waves or crinkles at the bottom of the pants where the extra material kind of collects. And then it'll be a little closer to the leg up top. I'm just going to block in the foot really quickly. The foot that's facing you. All right, guys, the last things we have are glasses and freckles. So there's two kinds of rims you could do. Well, actually, there's probably a lot more than two, but I'm going to do more of like a rectangular trapezoid kind of rim, and then I'm going to do like a Harry Potter rim. And you could do any variation of these. It could be like a really wide, skinny rectangle, or it could be more of like an oval-shaped glasses instead of a circle. And then connect them over the nose, connect them back to meet the ear. You could obviously make the rims of the glasses wider on the top or wider all the way around so you could do color in there. When doing freckles, freckles should not be very dark, just a shade darker than the skin tone. If the skin is peach, make them tan. If it's tan, make them brown. Brown, do dark brown. And that's it.